Well, it's still morning at NTV, and this time I am coming to you from NTV Municipality Wakiso District, and to be precise, I am coming to you from Imperial Golf View Hotel here, where of course there's been a discussion on human rights. If you can see in my background, the National Stakeholder Consultative Conference, the National Action Plan on Human Rights, that of course will run from 2025 to 2030, and a lot of course stakeholders are here to devise means. It's always evident that when we're going for elections, there is always human rights violation that always tend to pile on to the cases filed before the Commission and many other relevant authorities here. But many people, of course, like I said, stakeholders are here to discuss what exactly this concept is, and we also want to dive into it and understand exactly what this conference is all about. I just want to speak to the advisor, human rights and from the Minister of Justice and the Constitutional that is Musa. But we'll just paint for us a picture of what really this conference is all about. And Musa, thank you for joining me on Morning at NTV.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ivan, for having me, and thank you for reaching out to engage with us.
Why this conference this time?
This conference has been coming for a long time, and it's not particularly a timing issue, but it's been an evolution from 2011. The government of Uganda made a voluntary pledge to develop a national action plan on human rights.
Yes.
And the whole essence is about, as you know very well, we have a Bill of Rights in the Constitution.
Yes.
But it's a very macro articulation.
Yes.
So the whole essence is to get into more granular, actionable elements that can help the country develop a culture of human rights by implementing very actionable elements. So the essence of the National Action Plan is actually to dovetail down the Bill of Rights into what is actionable, measurable, and what, put differently, what different stakeholders can do. And one of the things, the kind of the conversations we're having today is about collective responsibility. We are trying to change the specs from, having the responsibility squared on Uganda Human Rights Commission, Equal Opportunities Commission, or broadly the government, and say, look, we are in this together, all of us together. We have a stake to play, we have a country to shape, we have a culture to develop, and so far it's going well.
Yes, it's always been coming up. Normally when we're going for elections, when we see many cases coming out to pile before the Commission and many other relevant authorities. How do you think maybe this dives into time for what somebody may expect, which is just ahead?
And that's why for me it's not a timing issue. True, when election seasons come close, there's a bit of contestation, there's a bit of more visibility on issues that have been pertaining, but our frame of focus is quite broad. We're dealing with issues of socio-economic rights, rights of ethnic groups, rights of victims of disaster and conflict. There are civil political rights there, they're part of the cocktail, issues of discrimination and inclusion. So I would like to divorce the issues of the moment as a different constituency, and keep at the center issues of welfare, dignity, and well-being of Ugandans. Because beyond the few months of the elections, there's going to be a Uganda, and there are going to be issues of rights to deal with, and for us, that's our focus.
Who are the stakeholders you felt are important in attending this meeting, if you can just maybe?
Primarily, we have government institutions, but very interestingly, we have representatives of the private sector. We have cultural institutions from Lango, from Sebei, we invited the Buganda Kingdom, Bunyoro, Hoima. We have the academia. And interestingly, this National Action Plan was developed in a multi-stakeholder approach. We have civil society, we have the media group here. And the message we are sending is we need to co-create together if we are going to implement this together and own the outcomes together. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Isaac, let me hold you there. Let me just talk to also. I see one of the stakeholders. I see the Secretary General of the Democratic Party, also just going to give us why he felt this was important as a party to come and attend, and some of the key notable issues that you think need to be addressed in this conference. Good morning and welcome to that.
Good morning and thank you so much. We are here for the tour of stakeholders engagement on the National Action Plan for Human Rights. As a political party leader, the person that has been affected so much with the issues of human rights, we believe this is important, and when you look at the room and several key stakeholders available, duty bearers, but also how do we engage all of us without looking at separation of political rights, social rights, and civil rights. Rights are rights. And I believe that the nation like Uganda, that is coming from the very big history of human rights violation, it is important for us to have a template in terms of how do we look at human rights, how do we integrate it in our routine and duties in terms of what we do, our everyday life. How do we also look at in terms of our curriculum so that we nurture people and children that are coming right from in infancy stage at home to issues of human rights. How do we integrate it to our religious expression within human rights? How do we integrate it to the social and cultural institutions, but also political parties where we violate a lot of rights? But it's also not about rights, but how do we look at the obligation of the community and Ugandans?
You are going through a time that is always described as a tough time. That's the election time. As a party, of course, what would you want to see in as far as how you take time to come and attend to such a conference and the outcomes that may be made?
I think for me, it's about what message are we going to be giving as political leaders and those that are canvassing the votes, because the message we give is key in terms of protection of the human rights. But what is going to be our relationship between the security operatives and security agencies that are at the centerpiece of violating the question of human rights, but also in terms of communication so that we understand as a page. I intend to look at the section of how do we enforce, because most of the time we have a lot in terms of a paperwork, but how do we do enforcement? And those that violate rights, how are they punished on so that we deal with the question of once and for all? We are going through a very sensitive period. It has begun internally from the party. You see the violations. Some of them are internally within the party, but also when we face the question of the big field in terms of the general election with the Electoral Commission, how do we make sure that all rights matter? The rights of those in government matter, but also our own rights in terms of the matter. When police is confronting me, how do I deal with them? Do I start abusing them, how they sleep in uniforms, and how their children have not gone to school, they have not eaten, or how do I engage with them? But also the police officers, how are they going to engage us? Will they come, introduce themselves, and tell us what crime we've committed? And I think for me, human rights are ingredients of our development, so they should be part and parcel of our political entity that we move with as a country. We cannot separate rights with our daily routine life.
Okay, as a party, as we speak now, there have been kidnappings going on in the country, and yesterday the president of the DP came out to say that that is partly what you want to discuss, because he said, he talked about men not in uniform enforcing the law, and somebody is walking on the streets with the gun. But this conference, perhaps somebody would say, targets some of the security personnel, and I don't know if they're in the house. And what is their submission in regards to the matter?
We have a panel today where we hope we are going to be engaging with all the security agencies from within. But I think for me, personal as a party, we're a party that believes in human rights, we're a party that believes in rule of law, and we've proved that we've been doing that for long. We cannot behave like a rogue state, We've come all the way, and the things that we do, and some of the people that think are doing that protect the state, in fact, tint our nation the more. We find a lot of trouble during international conventions to reporting on human rights issues, because certain people just want to do certain things because they think they are protecting the state. In fact, the more we do, cruel and degrading action of such kind that undermine the question of human rights, where we have signed a charter to people and human rights, I think for me, it tints our nation. It isolates Uganda, and most of the time you move and say I'm from Uganda, people want to remember those days of Amin, and people just want to see what's on the street and how people are being arrested. I think for me there are channels on how we can summon a person who you think is on the wrong side of the law. Summon them, they will appear before the law. I think it's a question that we need to address. We do not want to see anymore, people being arrested, people being bungled on cabin of police, even with people that are not in uniform, you cannot identify. You take 3 days. I'm told in Nyanzi, since was arrested, the family is struggling to even find where he is. They cannot identify where they are. And we're talking about the one Nyanzi. But there are several people that are not known. Our foot soldiers, our brain soldiers, and people that follow us. I think for me, it is important aspect that we want to see come out. And when we come out of this question, the ministry presents before cabinet and eventually before parliament. I want us to see how do we follow this. And also for us as political leaders, we want politics, but we also don't want to subject those that support us in things that they don't understand, that they don't know. For instance, we sometimes point our supporters to a very tough corner of abusing human rights, and eventually at the end of the day they become victims. Even when you're arrested with several people only talk about you, but there are several people that have been arrested either because of a mission of supporting you and following what you do, but at the end of the day we do not tell them a question of rights that you do this, but there is obligation. The question of obligation on our side has been missing. We only speak about one way, but we do not speak about all the other aspects. But there are several other aspects that specifically the political rights I have been, I think, come out. But there are also question of how, as political leaders, how do we defend our business community that are being, every day their rights are being violated. The media, you're doing the role of being the fourth estate and the educator, their rights are being violated. I think for me, we need a template so that we work with. In the morning, you see the NTV, they use the first 2 minutes to speak about rights so that they pin all of us information, education, communicative material in terms of issues of defending the rights. All rights are equal.
Yeah, but there seems to be a difference between the structural concept of human rights and the enforcement side, because even if you have a security personnel violating some of these rights, say everybody will continue to blame, but these continue to happen each and every day.
I think you can see that we do not even have like a uniform. We have the Bill of Rights, but I think what we're trying to do here is to come up with the action plan in terms of how do we make sure that we integrate all individuals, right from our trainings, from our education background, from how we do the meetings at the elder level, from the LC community, from the business sector, so that we have an ingredient of a template that we want to move with. And like I've said, the question is how do we enforce and how do we bring the culprits that abuse the rights on book. For me, that's going to be very key so that we can parade and say this year we have brought so and so and so on book, so that they act as a lesson for those others that want to violate the rights.
Okay, thank you for your time. Let me just speak to another participant from this conference. We know today is winding up, but I want to welcome you on Morning at NTV, and we just want to pick your insights on what you expect from this conference that you've been participating from yesterday.
Thank you very much. Why I chose to participate, when you talk about rights, you are talking about everybody. When you know your rights, you should also know your obligations. I came to add value to the consultative process so that what is missing can be put there. Some laws are there, some protocols are there. Unfortunately, people are abusing them left and right and with impunity. I wouldn't love to see a Commission of Revenue Authority, the Commissioner of Uganda National Bureau of Standards, arrest my goods arbitrarily, and then when I take the matter to court, it is the Attorney General to appear. It's not the Attorney General that abused my rights. Deliberately, somebody is abusing rights with intention because some of the business people don't know the obligations and rights, but some do. But even those who do know the rights and obligations, even after fulfilling them, on the other side, people, because they know the Attorney General will come in and they stand, then they recklessly implement and they abuse our rights. I'll tell you, I also came to say a statement in this consultative conference that if we go into protocols, for example, the East African Community Customs Management Act, let us be guided by it. We are denied rights of participating in the regional economics because Uganda still sticks to national laws, yet we have gone into protocols. You agree that for textiles and garments, for example, we are going to pay 35% import duty across board. Uganda says, I'm going to measure taxes in kilos, arbitrarily. It's not provided for in the GALT valuation agreement. It's not provided for in the WTO agreements, yet Uganda is the signatory, and we are abusing the rights deliberately, and nobody is acting on this. So I came to see how much can we do so that when people abuse rights and they know what they are doing, the law catches on them there and then, so that they don't need to hide under the Attorney General. You arrest me arbitrarily and you say the government should come and plead for you. I personally have disagreed with a certain tax. Okay, you tell me before I talk about it, pay 30%. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not fair. Economic rights are very important because our parents feed from us.
Okay. My producer says we have run out of time, but I want to thank you so much for
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, the conference is entering day 2, and like I earlier said, many of the stakeholders are still coming in to attend and give insights. We do not know what will come out of this, but in case we get the concept of what shall have been drawn from this conversation, we're able to also break it down to our audience. Now, on behalf of the crew Morning at NTV, we will want to take a rest for a weekend, and now Morning at NTV will resume on Monday, same time, 6:39 a.m. Good morning to our audience.